Spotlight on those who served. Brought to you by Graybar.
Every veteran story is important and unique, but sadly, some soldiers don't come home and share their story. More than 4,400 U.S. military members died during Operation Iraqi Freedom. Tonight, Paige Halsey introduces us to a fallen soldier's mom who's making sure her son's story is told.
Evan was my middle boy.
Anita Dixon is a proud mother of 3 boys, but this chair in her dining room is reserved for the one in the middle, Evan Parker.
Always headstrong, and he was this strong and macho buff little boy that always got into anything and everything. He never quit.
In the late 90s, Parker was a student at a junior college when he called home late one night with a big announcement.
He goes, "I joined the military." And I said, "What?" He says, "Yep, joined the Army." He says, I'll leave in the spring.
In May 1999, Parker came to Fort Leonard Wood for basic training.
He got out of the car and he threw that green backpack over his shoulder, and it hit me that there left a boy walking in to be a man.
Sergeant Parker became a fire support specialist and was stationed in Hawaii.
It's very quiet, and he was over there doing his thing, and then 9/11 hit.
But it wasn't until 2004, when Sergeant Parker was in the reserves, that his unit got the papers his mom had feared.
He says, "I'm being reactivated, I'm being deployed, I'm going to Iraq."
In January of '05, his boots were on the ground.
He said, "This is who I am. This is what I signed up for. I'm willing and ready to go." And he was.
By the time Parker came home for a quick visit that summer, Dixon said her son was different. The war was taking its toll.
Here he came off the airplane carrying his backpack. He was still in his desert uniform, and I looked at him, and he was just weary. He was just heavy. His boots were full of sand, and his clothes shook out and there was sand.
He didn't want to talk about what he saw, what they did. But then there was one week in October of '05, back in Iraq, that he did want to talk to everyone back home, calling his brothers, his grandma, his mom, every day.
And I said, "Evan," I said, "oh my goodness, honey, you have called every single day this week." I said, "Is everything okay?" He said, "Yeah, everything's fine." He says, "I just want you to know I love you."
The very next day, Dixon got a very different phone call from Virginia.
"I'm calling to inform you that there was an attack last night on your son's unit, and he took a shrapnel piece from an IED. And he says, 'Ma'am, I'm sorry to inform you, but it does not look good.'"
Anita Dixon shared this story with us 14 years to the day that she got that call.
And he said, "There's no brain activity."
Parker was flown to Germany and placed on life support. His immediate family joined him as fast as they could. Now by his side, Dixon needed her son to know.
I said, "Evan," I said, "this is Mom. I'm here. I made it. I love you." And he took his head and he went like this in my hand and in my face. I told him, "You will always be remembered, you will never be forgotten, and your name will constantly be spoken."
3 days after the IED blast, Sergeant Evan S. Parker died at the age of 25. Since then, Dixon says his fellow soldiers have reached out to her, sharing a different side of her son.
They talked of his calmness, they talked of his joy, they talked of how he wore his heart on the outside of his chest.
Now, surrounded by his pictures,
This picture I just received.
medals,
This here is his first Purple Heart.
and mementos,
And this boot still has Iraq sand on it.
Dixon says she is fulfilling her promise to keep telling his story.
His legacy is, I'd do it all over again. I'm a soldier.
In Pevely, Paige Halsey, News 4.